Howdy, my name is Tyler Nance, and this is my speech, One Topic on Stranger Danger. So, approximately 203,000 children are kidnapped every year, and those numbers are really high, but they're kind of inflated a little bit to push an agenda that's not necessarily true. Of the 203,000, 99.8% return back to their families. And continuing on of that 203,000, only 3% are abducted by people that you do not know. So, although being taught that the dangers of meeting strangers as a child, my perception of this has changed, and I've learned stranger danger as a child. I've changed and I've started using my outgoing personality to meet more strangers, and I've learned that it's super beneficial and that everyone has a life story to tell and lessons that I can receive from it. So even though my viewpoint has changed, that does not deter the movement that individuals created on stranger danger. So stranger danger is a household name. I'm sure it's. I'm from Chicago, and it's definitely taught there. You're definitely taught not to talk to anybody that you don't know, and it's definitely looked down upon. If your kid's walking around, it's a big. Your parents are always going to be with you, and um, they're always going to be advocating that you don't talk to strangers because you never know who that your children might go try to meet when you're not around. So it definitely has its plus sides. What it does is it allows the benefits is the child's safety, but the cons is that what that does later is that if you're not allowing your kids to meet those to go through those interactions with people, even if you preferred with you, then they're going to start to not communicate effectively and actually have non-confrontational skills, and I believe that's what leads to this generation relying more on social media and everything. um, Again, this does not mean that children should just go walk around and meet a bunch of strangers. Obviously, that is not what we want. We definitely want your children to be supervised at all times, but you want them to make those interactions and continue to talk to people they don't know, to build connections even at a young age and start establishing that mindset that it's okay. Obviously, there are people who have very ill intentions growing up and want to do bad things to innocent people, but again, only 3% of 203,000, and with 99.8% returning back to their family. I believe that it's heavily taught, but those numbers are skewed to make it worse than it really is. So, in principle, it is really good to instruct your kids to not talk to strangers. However, it leads to shyness again, and then them not liking the conversational skills that I touched on earlier. So, as I've gotten older, I've met that meeting strangers has actually become one of my favorite things to do. If you put me in a room with a bunch of people I don't know, I will be pretty good friends with them leaving. I just love to know. I find it very interesting that you can meet someone at the exact same place, but y'all came from a very different background and completely different upbringing. So my personality, I'm very outgoing, obviously, but I like to understand people's background and where they came from, and it's just to me it just amazes me. So this has changed my everyday life because I'm not afraid to meet people. People are too afraid to be confrontational, and that is not me. I like to understand people, and I actually have a personal story with this. So last year I didn't go home for Thanksgiving because there was only 2 weeks. I didn't fly back to Chicago. Thought it would be too much money on my family, so I actually went home and I drove about 6 hours to Texarkana with my buddy. That's one of my roommates, and we were driving, and I saw a yellow lab on the side of the road, and I have four golden retrievers at my house. So I spun the car around and I parked it, and then I was like, "Whose dog is this?" There's some houses, middle of the highway. It was just a really sketchy area going on, and I get out and I'm trying to keep the dog away from the highway. I don't want him to get hit, and all of a sudden a deer comes coming up to me, and I'm assuming that the house that the deer came from has to be because the dog and the deer were just playing. So I walk up to this house. I have no problem meeting these people, and I have a deer on my left side and I have a dog on my right, and we're walking up together up to this house. And the guy obviously sees that there's a vehicle in the driveway, and he and I just had a big conversation, and he ended up having a deer farm, and the Labrador, keeps the deer like in check, and I just thought it was really interesting, and that's just a stranger that I met on the highway at a house passing by. So, with having the courage and confidence to meet new people, I have been able to meet amazing stories and have life lessons with experiences that and have experiences that I never would have had before. So one of the most amazing things is I touched on a little bit before is how two people from completely different backgrounds, two completely different areas, can come together at the same point, and I find that amazing. Divorced parents, uh, married parents, you raised coming up with multiple siblings, not multiple siblings, you might have a death in the family, or you might be an orphan, but you can meet at the exact same point, coming from two different areas, and you can, to me, it's insane. But today's generation struggles with the effect to be able to communicate directly and effectively, and that has caused the increase in social media. So understanding other people taught me valuable lessons from people I would not ordinarily talk to, or that other people would not ordinarily talk to. And then through that, I've gained that one of the biggest life lessons I learned from a World War II veteran working at Menards. I met a random stranger there too. Was that it's okay to be confident, but you cannot walk through without humility. And that has changed me because if you don't walk around confidently, the world's going to walk all over you. But you also need to be humble, because if you try to walk all over the world, well, it's not just going to happen. So from what I previously thought was bad, turned into a great way to gain life lessons throughout my life, and great networks to meet with other people. When I was young, I used to believe that strangers led to nothing but problems. Now I found that meeting strangers is an amazing way to see different people, different perspectives, and use my outgoing personality and claiming the life lessons that others gave to me as a benefit rather than a negative, as seen with children being taught stranger danger, being completely terrible. You should never do it. So along with learning their life lessons, it has taught me to see through the eyes of other people, and I think that this is a really strong point in today's world. Being able to see viewpoints from other people's perspectives seems to be a common problem found in today's world, and it needs to be this new way of thinking that I'm kind of talking about can start a chain reaction leading to a better future and a more understanding society, especially what's going on with the world right now. So that's my speech on stranger danger. Thank you.